Yes, the city certainly is an evil place.
On the 50th anniversary of jazz at Grossman's Tavern, Patrick Tavern asked me if I read out my history of how we got that gig. Now, the first time I met Cliff, I was about 17 years old, and my pal Pat Blednick took me down to see him because Cliff lived in Yorkville Village, which at that time was really hip. Joni Mitchell was playing around the corner, all that stuff. Cliff had been playing in a band with Pat the band's called Babylon, and Cliff was a sign printer, and he printed up t-shirts saying Babble On with Babylon, which is like really hip. So we walk in, and the first thing Cliff says, "Like a beer?" So I knew he was cool. And we always used to hang around there. Jack King was there, Dennis Helder was there, Gump, Dirty Peter, who else was there? And we'd sit around drinking underage and getting pissed, because all Cliff wanted to do was sit around and listen to music and drink beer with his friends. So we'd been there for a while, and then Cliff says to me, "Max, you play in the school orchestra, you play bass in the school orchestra. Have you ever thought about playing bass in a jazz band?" Well, like, I'm 17, man. All I want to do is get close to the ladies. And I think if I played bass in a jazz band, they might think I'm like sophisticated, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So I said, yeah. So we sit down, we listen to a bunch of George Lewis, a bunch of Kid Thomas, and I figured out what's happening off. So Cliff takes Dennis and I down to the Maison Dorée, which had a jazz pulse at that time, and Cliff wangles us both into the band, because Dennis had been listening too. So Don Chapman played on Saturdays, we played on Fridays, and we got a good crowd in there, and we did okay. Eventually Dan Tate, the owner, decided he could make more money as a disco, because disco was the thing then. So he closed the jazz thing down, and both bands broke up. Cliff wanted to keep playing, so we got a couple of guys, Mal Dyson and Geoff Baines, who had been coming down and listening to us. And we said, "You guys like to play in a jazz band?" And they never touched an instrument in their life. And in 6 months, we had Geoff up playing drums quite decently, and Mal Dyson playing quite decent banjo. So we're rehearsing, and it's just the three of us, the four of us. But then Cliff gets in touch with George Berry and Pete Savory. They'd been playing with Don Chapman, and they were good, and George could play, Pete could play, and he talks them both into joining our band. All of a sudden, we've got a serious band. You've got a band with George Berry, you've got a serious band. Pete Savory, a serious band. So Cliff goes out hustling up gigs, and there's awful gigs, but just awful gigs, like what do you call it? Just horrible, crummy gigs. And the Cliff's deal was, we'll play for free, you get the bar, and we'll charge $1. Legion halls, they're all Legion halls. Who goes to Legion halls to listen to jazz? No one. So we're rehearsing twice a week at Mal and Jeff's place, because they shared a place until the neighbours complained about the noise. We're rehearsing. Cliff comes to a rehearsal one night. He says, "I've got an audition at a bar downtown. If we make it, it'll be $50 a piece." Now, we've been playing these Legion halls, and we'd be charging $1 at the door, so maybe who goes to Legion halls in jazz, man? maybe 5 people show up. So we'd have $5 at the end of the night to share amongst 6 people. Fame, fortune, you know what I'm saying? So Cliff at that time, when he arrived in Canada, was a bricklayer. He had muscles everywhere. I mean, he was a top. He didn't run across to Cliff. So Cliff says, show up. Where he started 3 o'clock, show up earlier than 2:30, get ready, and don't fuck up. He didn't run across Cliff. So we all roll up about 2:30, and we got out there, and I'm underage. I'm only 20 years old, and the drinking age was 21. So I'm 20 years old, and we walk. I don't go to bars. I don't go to bars. I go in, and it's a bunch of tough guys in there, bunch all working class guys, half black, half white, and they're all sitting around. They all look like they give Cliff a good run for his money, without even thinking about it. You don't want to cross this guy. You don't want to play badly for the guys like that. So we set up, and the bar owner comes up and says, calls the waiter and says, Kenny, he says, get a jug of beer for the guys in the band. And so Kenny comes up, and Kenny is a black guy, man. He's like about 6'8", and he's built like a refrigerator, man. And he's wearing shades. And he doesn't walk so much, he glides across me, well-spoken, nice guy. But you don't want to mess up in front of some guy like Kenny. So we get up. So we all have a glass of beer each, and we get up, we start playing. But the band is really nervous, man. And you can tell that Geoff on the drums is tight. Mel I'm struggling to hold the rhythm section together. Nothing's working right. And then Mel drops a chord, man. His face just turns white. He goes ashen. And then George Berry stands up for a solo. And he just fucking wails, man. 2 choruses, he lays it right down, the band pulls together, and Jeff's cool, and Mel's in there. And then Pete stands up for a solid 2 choruses. And then Cliff stands up and is blasting into the Derby mute for the out chorus. And the front man is standing. The rhythm section is walking out. George is wailing on top. And it's rock solid. And we finish, man. And all I can hear is shouting and banging. I thought, man, the tough guys really don't like us. They're going to rush the stage, beat us because we're no good. When I looked up and what the sound was the tough guys banging their beer bottles on the table, and they're shouting out, "Well, all right, tell it like it is, man, tell it like it is." So we passed the audition, and we got the gig. Grossman's Tavern, 1970.